Southampton, NY. When Brooks Koepka won his first U.S. Open last year at Erin Hills, the celebration was relatively subdued. His family didn't attend the 17 championship, but there was no way they were missing this year's U.S. Open. "This year we booked something about 5 miles away from Shinnecock Hills," said Koepka's father, Bob. "We weren't going to miss it and I'm so glad we're here." The family was treated to a show, with Koepka closing with a 68 for a one-stroke victory to become the first player since Curtis Strange in 1989 to win back-to-back U.S. Opens. U.S. Open. Scores. Live blog. Full coverage. Koepka called his father early Sunday to wish him a happy Father's Day, and Bob Koepka said he noticed a similar confidence in his son's voice to the way he sounded when they spoke on Sunday of last year's championship. There was also one other similarity. 2 years in a row, I haven't gotten him anything for Father's Day, Brooks Koepka laughed. Next year, I'm not going to get him anything either. It might bring some good luck. It's incredible to have my family here, and my dad loves golf. To be here, he loves watching. To share it with him this time, it will be a little bit sweeter. Article tags, Brooks Koepka, 2018 U.S. Open Southampton, NY. There was a time when Brooks Koepka didn't even know if he was going to be able to play this week's U.S. Open as he recovered from a wrist injury that had sidelined him for 3.5 months. Didn't start hitting full shots until the Monday after the Masters, which he missed, and returned to the PGA Tour in late April at the Zurich Classic. His return to competitive form accelerated from there with a runner-up finish last month at the Fort Worth Invitational. But if Sunday's victory at Shinnecock Hills, where he became the first player to win back-to-back U.S. Opens since Curtis Strange in 1989, appeared to be an official return to full strength, it wasn't exactly that seamless. U.S. Open. Scores. Live blog. Full coverage. Koepka, who closed with a 68 for a one-stroke victory over Tommy Fleetwood, revealed that he suffered a rib injury last week at the FedEx St. Jude Classic. "My rib kind of came out last week. It bugged me a little bit," he said. "Right when we got here, Koepka's trainer worked on it, knew what it was. It was pretty sore, but I had no problems since then." In 2015, Koepka withdrew from the Arnold Palmer Invitational with a similar rib injury. Article tags, 2018 U.S. Open. Brooks Koepka, Southampton, NY. It's a scene that occurs on a regular basis at the Joey D. Golf Training Center, frenzied workouts driven by an intense combination of competition and desire. Under the watchful eye of longtime PGA Tour trainer Joey Diovisalvi, Brooks Koepka and Dustin Johnson will turn even the most mundane elements of their workouts into winner-take-all contests, from the duo's warm-up on stationary bikes to the various exercises that have turned the twosome into a pair of the game's most imposing figures. It was during one of these hyper-fueled sessions a few months ago when Koepka suggested he could become #1 world. "I think Brooks was 11th in the world at the time, and Dustin said, yeah, if you add a 1 to that." Diovisalvi recalled. Brooks said, "You wait and see, you want to come to my party and put the banner up." Dustin just left, "Not while I'm alive, it's not happening." That rivalry, which is as friendly as it is genuine, was taken to a new level on Sunday at the U.S. Open when the duo set out for the final lap in the day's penultimate group. Golf's undisputed Bash brothers going head-to-head after having traded titles at the last 2 U.S. Opens, the prototype of the modern professional playing on golf's most demanding stage. To the New York masses, the twosome must have looked like the guy most likely to ask how long you're going to be using the bench press at your local gym, a pair of golfing unicorns who have combined unrelenting power with wildly underrated precision. U.S. Open. Scores. Live blog. Full coverage with apologies to all those who set out for the final round at Shinnecock Hills with the greatest expectations. This was always going to come down to either Koepka or Johnson. Koepka won his first U.S. Open in dominant fashion last year at Erin Hills, and Johnson got on the board in 2016 at Oakmont, so it should have been no surprise that, as the duo went through their normal, game day, workout early Sunday, together, there was the unspoken realization that the day's competition was just beginning. Koepka likes to beat DJ, said Claude Harmon III, the swing coach for both men. We're in an era now where it's a great time in golf that all the guys are friends and there are great friendships, but trust me, all these guys want to win. Brooks wants to beat everybody, including DJ, who is his closest friend out here. He wants to beat him in the gym, in everything they do. Even in the official World Golf Ranking, which currently features Johnson atop the pack. Absolutely, he tells him all the time, Harmon said. Koepka won't climb to know. Won in World on Monday, but he did one-up his South Florida stablemate by becoming the first player since Curtis Strange, in 1989, to win back-to-back U.S. Opens. It was a perfectly Koepka performance. A day that began with a no small measure of apprehension following Saturday's inexplicable setup snafu, that prompted some players to contend that the USGA had lost the golf course for the second consecutive championship at Shinnecock Hills, quickly settled into the kind of competitive grind for which the U.S. Open is known. Koepka broke out of a four-way tie for first place with a 20-footer for birdie at the second, added another at the third to go 2 strokes clear and appeared to be on cruise control. But then U.S. Opens, real U.S. Opens where par is a good score and the USGA dances dangerously close to the edge, are never that easy. The first crack came at the par 3 11th hole when Koepka airmailed the green and needed to convert a 12-footer for bogey. He scrambled again at the 12th with a 6-footer for par and salvaged his advantage at the 14th hole after finding the fescue with his drive. With Tommy Fleetwood, who became the 6th player to shoot 63 in a U.S. Open to settle into the clubhouse lead at 2 over par, watching from the range, Koepka walked to the 72nd tee with a 2-stroke advantage. There was no suspense, no moments of anxiety, no reason to think he would allow this opportunity to slip away. For all the complaints about Saturday's setup, which even USGA CEO Mike Davis said were justified, this was the kind of U.S. Open Koepka relishes. This week is just back to a typical U.S. Open, where 1 over par wins the golf tournament, said Koepka, who closed with a 68. It's just a lot of grinding. But I couldn't be happier with the way I played. Picking your favorite major is often like picking your favorite child. They are all special in their unique way, but Koepka had no problem giving his second turn as U.S. Open champion its proper place. This was special. Special because he outplayed Johnson, who closed with a 70 to finish in third place at 3 over. Special because of the workmanlike performance Shinnecock Hills demanded. Special because the last year hasn't exactly been a celebration. Toward the end of 2017, Koepka began to feel pain in his left wrist. He would miss the Masters with a partially torn tendon and spend 3.5 maddening months on his couch recovering. We were worried that he wasn't even going to be able to come here and defend, said Koepka's father, Bob. I'm just thankful that he's been able to recover. It's been a long 3 months for him. Although he didn't start hitting full shots until the Monday after the Masters, his return to competitive form was nothing short of meteoric, even by modern standards. And when he finished runner-up at last month's Fort Worth Invitational, just his 4th event back, his confidence quickly returned. He'd never really been a golf nerd and I think he fell in love with golf again, Harmon said. When he came back there was something I hadn't seen with him wanting to play again. He watched the Masters. He never watches the Masters. He also was back in the gym, alongside Johnson, rekindling the duo's ongoing bout of one-upmanship. Early Sunday during their pre-round workout it was the status quo for Koepka and Johnson, friendly banter that both lightens the mood and inspires excellence. But it was different once the two set out for the final round. There were no jokes, no trash talking, no talking of any kind. In fact, I love Dustin. He's one of my best friends, Koepka said. to play alongside him. It was fun today. I was excited about it. I figured he would be the guy to beat. But I didn't talk to him today. Maybe I said something on number 3, and that was about it. There will be plenty to talk about next week when they renew what is one of the game's most unique friendships and rivalries. Koepka won't ascend to number 1 in the world just yet, but he will hang a banner in Djokovic Gym 2018 US Open champion, and Johnson wouldn't miss that moment. Article tags, 2018 US Open, Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson Southampton, NY. While the course conditions during the final round of the US Open were decidedly different than the day before, Dustin Johnson's struggles on the greens remained the same. Johnson appeared in command of the tournament at the halfway point at Shinnecock Hills, building a 4-shot lead as the only player under par. But he, like many of the leaders, fell victim to borderline third-round conditions and struggled to a 7/77. That still left him with a share of the lead at 3 over heading into the final round and a great chance to earn his second U.S. Open title in the last 3 years. Instead, he couldn't keep pace with playing partner Brooks Koepka, shooting an even par 70 to finish alone in third while Koepka went 2 shots better to successfully defend his title. U.S. Open, scores, live blog, full coverage. Johnson declined to speak with media following his round. Johnson was 2 over for the week heading to the back 9 on Sunday, only 1 shot behind Koepka. But he made 3 bogeys on the inward half, including drop shots on nose 11 and 14 that effectively ended his title chances. The culprit for Johnson's regression was clear. After leading the field in strokes gained, putting through the first 2 rounds, he couldn't get comfortable on the greens on the weekend. Johnson needed 38 putts to complete his third round, T64 among the 67 players who made the cut, and his 35 final round putts were T63 in the same category. Despite the putting woes, Johnson has now finished T4 or better at the U.S. Open 4 times in the last 5 years. In addition to his third-place showing this week and his win at Oakmont in 2016, he also tied for second at Chambers Bay in 2015 and was T4 at Pinehurst the year prior. Article tags, Dustin Johnson, 2018 US Open Southampton, NY. Despite a costly final hole, Tony Finau had plenty to smile about after notching a career-best major finish at the US Open. Finau made it past the 36-hole cut with only a shot to spare, and his third round 66 came hours before the leaders played on a course that quickly became burnt to a crisp. Finau explained that, "It was nuts, watching his name slowly creep up the leaderboard until he had a share of the 54-hole lead and a spot in Sunday's final pairing alongside Daniel Berger, who, like Finau, shot a third round 66 in easier conditions." But Finau struggled out of the gates in the final round, with consecutive bogeys on nose 2 to 4 to fall well off the pace while eventual champ Brooks Koepka birdied 3 of his first 5. Finau eventually steadied the ship, making 5 birdies in the middle of his round and ultimately stood over a 20-foot birdie putt on no. 17 that would have brought him within a shot of Koepka's lead. U.S. Open, scores, live blog, full coverage. I don't know what it is with this golf course. I can never get off to a good start. Finau said. It was that way every round. I don't know what the deal was. I couldn't get off to a good start any of the rounds. Finau headed to the 72nd hole in third place, but a wayward drive led to a closing double bogey that left him in solo fifth at 5 over. It was his first top 5 in a major and paid $474,659, but that was $217,746 less than he would have earned with a par on the final hole to join Dustin Johnson in a 2-way tie for third. Finau has never played in a Ryder Cup before, but he entered this week at number 16 on the U.S. points race and will improve that standing with his performance at Shinnecock Hills. throw in a T10 finish in his Masters debut, and the 28-year-old is officially compiling credentials that could give Captain Jim Furyk something to think about come September. Reflecting on the week is a cool thing. It's a goal of mine to be on the team. Finau said, "I haven't won this year. That's something I want to do. But hopefully, just proving to the captains, whether I play myself onto the team or not, that, you know, I step up on the big stage and I can compete." Article tags, 2018 US Open, Shinnecock Hills, Tony Finau.